Heartbreaking news. For Willie Nelson is more than just a country music legend. He's an American treasure. Over his incredible career, he's won 10 Grammy Awards, sold over 40 million records, and earned a spot among the most celebrated artists in music history. Known for his soulful songs and relentless touring, Willie has played stages from Texas to Australia, charming fans worldwide. But lately, concerns about his health have left fans worried. At 91, Willie's been through his share of challenges, and now he's making headlines again after canceling his live shows. What's happening with the iconic singer? Is there sad news for him? Join us as we dive into his journey right from the very beginning to understand his health issues and see what he is up to now. From humble beginnings to music dreams. Willie Nelson's story begins in Abbott, Texas, where he was born on April 29, 1933. Interestingly, his birthday was incorrectly recorded as April 30th, which is a small detail that reflects how much his early life was shaped by simplicity and humble beginnings. Named by his cousin Mildred after her late brother Hugh, Willie came from a family that had deep roots in American history. His ancestor, John Nelson, even served in the Revolutionary War. But Willie's childhood was far from idyllic. His parents, who had moved to Texas seeking work during the Great Depression, separated soon after his birth. With his mother leaving and his father remarrying, Willie and his sister Bobby were raised by their grandparents. Music played a central role in the household. His grandparents, who had once taught singing in Arkansas, introduced him to music early on. Willie's grandfather gifted him a guitar at just 6 years old, teaching him a few chords. By the time he was 7, Willie had written his first song. At 9, he was playing the guitar with a local polka band, Bohemian Polka. His grandmother, who was a strict and devout Christian, initially worried about him performing in nightclubs, even if they were just 6 miles away. To her, 6 miles down the highway was already on the road, Willie once shared. But Willie's childhood wasn't just about music. The family worked hard, often picking cotton alongside their neighbors in Abbott. Willie hated the back-breaking work, and instead started earning money by singing in local honky-tonks and taverns at just 13. His early musical influences ranged from country legends like Hank Williams to jazz icons like Louis Armstrong, creating the diverse foundation for his later career. Speaking of which, Willie's teenage years were as eventful as his childhood. Willie's early hustle. At Abbott High School, he was active in sports, playing football, basketball, and baseball. He even raised pigs with the future farmers of America. Music, however, remained his true passion. He joined a band called the Texans, started by his sister's husband, Bud Fletcher. They performed in honky-tonks and even had a Sunday morning radio spot on KHBR in Hillsboro. Alongside his budding music career, Willie took on a variety of odd jobs. He worked as a relief phone operator, tree trimmer, and even in a pawn shop. After finishing high school in 1950, Willie joined the U.S. Air Force but was medically discharged after just 8 months due to back problems. This didn't slow him down. Back home, he married his first wife, Martha Matthews, in 1952 and briefly studied agriculture at Baylor University. But the call of music was too strong to ignore, so he dropped out to focus on his career. In the years that followed, he worked as a nightclub bouncer, saddle maker, and even a tree trimmer again to make ends meet. During this time, Willie also started working as a radio DJ, a job that would prove instrumental in his musical journey. At KBOP in Pleasanton, Texas, he recorded his first songs, including The Storm Has Just Begun and When I've Sung My Last Hillbilly Song. While these recordings were rejected by local labels, they marked the beginning of his path to Nashville, the heart of country music. Chasing a dream, one gig at a time. Willie's path to success wasn't a straight line. In his early 20s, He worked for several radio stations, including KDNT in Denton and KCUL in Fort Worth, hosting shows and playing music at local nightclubs. Despite his talents, life wasn't always kind to him. At one point, Willie set out for San Diego in search of better opportunities. When he couldn't find work, he hitchhiked to Portland, Oregon, to reunite with his mother. That journey wasn't easy either. He ended up sleeping in a ditch and hopping a freight train before a kind truck driver loaned him $10 for a bus ticket to Portland. Even as life tested him, Willie remained determined to make it in music. He juggled gigs as a DJ and performer, often struggling to balance his financial needs with his dream. His early recordings didn't find immediate success, but they showed his persistence. It was this grit that would eventually lead him to Nashville, the city where his career would finally take off. But did you know that before becoming a country music icon, Willie Nelson had to navigate a string of odd jobs? Selling encyclopedias and writing songs. One of his more memorable gigs was selling encyclopedias door to door. While it helped him earn money, the job left a lasting impression on him. The people I was selling to were living in bare-bones apartments, Willie said. Many were scraping by with hardly any food in the fridge. He felt guilty selling expensive encyclopedias to families who clearly couldn't afford them. Those books were from $300 to $600. I felt a little bad about selling a $600 set of books to people who couldn't afford a couch. Despite these struggles, Willie never stopped writing music. He sold his first song, Family Bible, for just $100, a small amount that would later seem laughable given the song's success. But for Willie, it was the encouragement he needed to move forward. That small victory pushed him to relocate to Nashville, where he hoped to turn his passion into a career. It was the first step on a journey that would eventually make him a legend. Along the way, he found more than just fame. He found a companion that would become an essential part of his journey. Willie Nelson's unforgettable companion. Willie Nelson's guitar, Trigger, is as iconic as the man himself. It's been his sidekick for over 50 years, becoming a symbol of his storied career. But Trigger didn't enter Willie's life in the smoothest way. The Martin N20 replaced Willie's old guitar, which met its unfortunate end during a show at the John T. Floor Country Store in Texas. A drunk stepped on it, Willie explained. His friend, Shot Jackson, tried to fix it, but couldn't. Instead, he recommended a new guitar. The price was $750. Coincidentally, the same amount Willie had recently spent on a horse. So I said, "That's pretty cool," Willie recalled. The new guitar wasn't just an instrument. It was an inspiration. It reminded Willie of Django Reinhardt, a jazz guitarist he admired. Willie said, "When I found that guitar and amp, I knew that was the sound I was trying to get." He even named it Trigger after Roy Rogers' famous horse, saying, "Trigger's kind of my horse." Over the years, Trigger has aged alongside Willie, complete with scratches and a hole near the bridge. Laughing about it, Willie told Texas Monthly, "Trigger's like me, old and beat up." But for Willie, Trigger is much more than just an old guitar. It's a part of his journey. Just as Trigger has been a constant in Willie's musical journey, his personal life has been anything but steady. Behind the music, Willie's relationships have seen their share of turbulence, including a scandal that changed Willie's life. His second marriage to Shirley Collie ended dramatically, and Willie shared the details in his memoir, Me and Sister Bobby, True Tales of the Family Band. While still married to Shirley, Willie fathered a child with Connie Kupke. It all came to light when Shirley received a hospital bill in the mail. Willie tried to downplay it, saying it was for something minor. But the bill told a different story. It was for the birth of Paula Carleen, his daughter with Connie. Willie confessed, "I couldn't lie. I was caught flat-footed." He had to admit to Shirley that he had a girlfriend and a child with her. This revelation led to their divorce, and in 1971, Willie married Connie. Despite these challenges, Willie has remained on good terms with his ex-wives. "There is no such thing as ex-wives, only additional wives," he once joked. It's a reflection of his belief in maintaining relationships and taking responsibility for his family, no matter the circumstances. While Willie managed to navigate the complexities of his personal life with humor and grace, his professional life wasn't always smooth sailing either. As the 1970s began, Willie faced a crossroads in his music career that nearly led him to walk away from it all. The time Willie almost quit music. While his songwriting talent had given the world hits like Patsy Cline's Crazy, his solo career was struggling. Frustrated with the Nashville music scene, Willie bought himself out of his RCA Records contract for $14,000 and moved back to Texas. At that point, he seriously considered giving up music entirely, but Texas turned out to be just what he needed. Willie settled in Austin and started performing in local bars and venues, often traveling in an old Greyhound bus. Around this time, the outlaw country movement was taking shape. It was a style of country music that rejected Nashville's polished sound. And Willie found his place among other rebels like Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson. Together, they brought a fresh, raw energy to the genre. This change in direction revived Willie's career. He released several hit albums, including Shotgun Willie and Red-Headed Stranger, and became a part of the legendary group The Highwaymen. And so his decision to stay in music didn't just save his career, it reshaped country music forever. After that, Willie Nelson shifted to Hollywood. By the late 1970s, Willie Nelson wasn't just a music star, he was a cultural icon. With hit albums like Stardust and Red-Headed Stranger, he had a massive fan base and a distinct persona that drew attention from Hollywood. Directors like Sidney Pollack saw potential in his charisma and cast him in films like The Electric Horseman alongside Robert Redford and Thief. Willie, however, didn't take his acting too seriously. "I pretty much play myself, whoever I'm supposed to be," he told his fan club, "and that doesn't require a lot of acting." While he didn't consider himself a great actor, his laid-back style and authenticity made him a natural on screen. Willie's connection to movies wasn't limited to acting. He also made a mark with his music. For the film Honeysuckle Rose, he wrote the now classic hit On the Road Again. According to Willie, he jotted down the lyrics on the back of an airplane vomit bag. The song became one of his biggest hits and even earned an Oscar nomination. Despite his Hollywood success, Willie always returned to music. As he told People in 1980, "I like making movies, but it's confining, and I don't like to go too long without playing concerts." For Willie, music was, and always will be, his first love. While Willie found success in both music and movies, his heart always belonged to the stage. But just a decade later, a financial storm would threaten everything he had worked so hard to build. Willie Nelson's battle with the IRS. In 1990, Willie Nelson's life took a sharp turn when the IRS seized most of his assets. This wasn't just a minor issue, it was a full-blown crisis. The government padlocked his recording studio, took his homesteads in 3 states, and even arranged to auction off his gold records and family piano. The cause was a staggering $32 million debt. According to Rolling Stone, this debt wasn't entirely Willie's doing. Bad investments and questionable actions by his accountants had left him unable to pay. Fortunately, Willie's quick thinking saved his beloved guitar, Trigger, which he sent to Maui before it could be confiscated. To settle the debt, Willie got creative. He recorded an album called The IRS Tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories, auctioned off his possessions, and even appeared in Taco Bell ads. Despite the stress, Willie handled it with grace. Reflecting on the ordeal, he told the New York Times, "There are more serious problems in life than financial ones. I've been broke before and will be again. Heartbroke? That's serious. Lose a few bucks? That's not. Not long after his troubles with the IRS, Willie faced an even darker moment in his life: the heartbreaking loss of Willie's son. In 1991, his son, Willie Nelson Jr., known as Billy, tragically took his own life. The loss was devastating for Willie, who later said it was the hardest thing he had ever faced. Billy's death came just 2 years after the passing of his mother, Martha, Willie's first wife, adding to the grief. Billy was a musician like his father, and the two had worked together on a gospel album. After Billy's death, Willie shelved the project for a while as he processed his grief. Eventually, in 1994, he released it under the title Peace in the Valley, the Gospel Truth Collection. Though the pain never fully left, Willie found some solace in his spiritual beliefs. A spokesperson for his management once shared, "Willie's a firm believer in reincarnation, so that makes it easier to take." Discovering a secret daughter. In 2012, Willie Nelson's family grew unexpectedly when he discovered he had a daughter he had never met. The news came when he reconnected with Mary Haney, an old friend. In his autobiography, Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die, Willie shared the surprising discovery. "Turns out Mary and I had a child together called Renee," he wrote. He also learned that Renee had a daughter and a granddaughter, making Willie a great-grandfather. Willie's reaction to the news was pure joy. "My newly discovered family sure took some time to surface," he joked. His wife, Annie D'Angelo, welcomed Renee into their lives without hesitation. Willie only regretted not knowing about Renee sooner, saying, "I consider them as much a part of Willie Nelson and family as I do my other children." This heartwarming reunion showed another side of Willie, a man who values family above all else, no matter how or when they come into his life. Willie's relationship with cannabis. Willie Nelson's love for cannabis is as legendary as his music. Over the years, he's become one of the most outspoken advocates for marijuana legalization, even crediting it with saving his life. His reputation as a stoner has earned him countless stories, including one from Snoop Dogg, who claimed, "Willie is the only person who's ever outsmoked Snoop Dogg." One of Willie's most infamous cannabis tales involves the White House. During a visit, he smoked marijuana on the roof with Chip Carter, President Jimmy Carter's son. Willie confirmed the story to GQ, saying, "It seemed like the thing to do. We were there, and there it was. Why not?" For Willie, it wasn't just about the high, it was about the moment and the memories. However, in 2019, Willie's relationship with cannabis changed. After years of health scares, including breathing problems and lung damage, he decided to stop smoking altogether. "I have abused my lungs quite a bit in the past, so breathing is a little more difficult these days," he admitted to KSAT TV. Though he quit smoking, Willie hasn't given up cannabis entirely. He now uses other methods to consume THC and still runs his cannabis company, Willie's Reserve. Even as his lifestyle evolves, Willie's connection to cannabis remains an integral part of his story, a recent health scare that alarmed fans. At 91, Willie Nelson is still hitting the road, performing for fans across the country. But recently, he sparked concern when he had to cancel his appearance at the Outlaw Music Festival on doctor's orders. A statement on social media explained, "Willie Nelson is not feeling well and, per doctor's orders, has been advised to rest for the next 4 days." This sudden announcement left fans wondering if their beloved country icon was okay. Thankfully, his team quickly reassured the public that Willie would make a swift recovery. His rep told Today.com, "Willie will be fine," adding that they were looking forward to seeing him perform again soon. While Willie rested, his son Lucas Nelson and the family band stepped in to perform, honoring Willie's legacy by including his classic hits. Although the scare was brief, it reminded everyone just how precious Willie's health is, and how many times he's bounced back from challenges before. Battling lung issues over the decades. Willie Nelson's lung health has been a recurring challenge throughout his life, and it began decades ago. In 1981, while swimming in Hawaii, Willie suffered a collapsed lung and was rushed to the Maui Memorial Hospital. The incident forced him to cancel his concerts, marking one of the first times his health interrupted his career. At the time, Willie was a heavy smoker, going through 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes a day. The lung scare made him pause, and he temporarily gave up smoking tobacco. Later, after suffering several bouts of pneumonia, Willie decided to quit smoking cigarettes for good. However, he continued smoking cannabis, a habit he's famously known for. Reflecting on his smoking days, Willie admitted in his autobiography, "I smoked 3 to 5 packs a day. I quit smoking 100 times before the day I finally took a deep inhale. And it hurt my lungs so bad, I knew at that instant I would never smoke a cigarette again." Even with the shift to cannabis, his lung issues persisted. In 2012, Willie canceled a fundraiser in Denver after struggling with breathing problems caused by high altitude and emphysema. His recurring lung challenges pushed him to seek advanced treatments to preserve his health and his voice. Surgery and recovery. In 2015, Willie took a significant step to improve his lung health by undergoing a stem cell operation. At the age of 82, he turned to this cutting-edge procedure, hoping it would help his lungs recover from years of damage caused by smoking and multiple bouts of emphysema and pneumonia. Speaking to the Washington Post, Willie said, "Over the years, I've smoked a lot of cigarettes, and I've had emphysema and pneumonia 4 or 5 times, so my lungs were really screwed up. I had heard that this stem cell operation would be good for them, so I said, well, I'm going to try it out." However, the recovery wasn't as smooth as he had hoped. Willie revealed, "I'm still so sore that I can't say it was a success. I'll have to wait until all the soreness goes away." Despite the discomfort, he remained optimistic about his ability to continue performing. "The only thing that worries me is carrying my guitar, because they did the operation right in my stomach. But I think I'll be all right." But the challenges didn't stop him for long. Even while recovering, Willie was determined to keep working, saying, "I don't do time off very well." His resilience and love for performing have kept him going, despite the hurdles. Willie's honest reflections on health and habits. Willie Nelson has never shied away from talking about his health struggles and the lifestyle choices that contributed to them. In his memoir, he shared his thoughts on the dangers of smoking, even acknowledging that cannabis isn't entirely harmless. There's been a lot of talk about marijuana being harmless, but I think it's a lot more dangerous to the lungs than most dope smokers realize, he wrote. "Your lungs are not really supposed to breathe anything but oxygen, pure, fresh air." In 2015, Willie explored using a nebulizer for cannabis consumption to reduce harm to his lungs. But his health challenges weren't limited to his lungs. In 2004, he underwent surgery for carpal tunnel syndrome after years of playing guitar took a toll on his wrists. Though the procedure was successful, it forced him to temporarily stop performing, a significant setback for someone who thrives on being on stage. Even as health challenges interrupted his performances, Willie's resilience and passion for music never faded. But in 2022, he faced a new and more daunting obstacle that tested his strength yet again. A fighter through the pandemic years, Willie Nelson faced one of his most serious health battles in May 2022 when he contracted the pandemic. For someone already dealing with chronic lung issues, the virus hit him hard. At 89 years old, Willie had to postpone several shows, leaving fans worried. His wife, Annie D'Angelo, shared the frightening details, saying they transformed their home into a hospital. "There were a couple of times when I wasn't sure he was going to make it," she admitted. Willie's treatment included Paxlovid, monoclonal antibodies, steroids, and constant monitoring by a mobile medical unit. But just 2 weeks after that scare, Willie was back on stage, showing his fans that his fighting spirit hadn't wavered. While Willie himself admitted that the pandemic was nothing to laugh at, his quick return to performing proved just how much he loves being on the road. But long before the pandemic, Willie Nelson had already been struggling with lung issues. Diagnosed with emphysema in 2019, a chronic condition that makes breathing difficult, Willie had to make significant changes to his lifestyle. Reflecting on years of smoking cigarettes, Willie confessed, "I smoked 3 to 5 packs a day. I quit smoking 100 times before the day I finally took a deep inhale. And it hurt my lungs so bad, I knew at that instant I would never smoke a cigarette again." Despite quitting tobacco, Willie has continued using cannabis, which he strongly believes in for its medicinal benefits. "I think smoking cannabis is good medicine," he once said. However, even cannabis use hasn't been entirely without challenges. Over the years, Willie has had to cancel shows due to breathing problems, leading to his decision to take better care of himself. "I abused my lungs quite a bit in the past," he admitted to KSAT News. "Breathing is a little more difficult these days, and I have to be careful." But for Willie, life without performing seems unimaginable. Willie Nelson's reassuring health update. Willie Nelson gave his fans quite the scare when he canceled several performances over the summer. In June 2024, he pulled out of the Outlaw Music Festival due to doctor's orders, leaving fans worried. At 91, any news about his health draws immediate attention. His team released a statement explaining that Willie had been advised by doctors to rest for 4 days, promising he would make a quick recovery. Fans, however, couldn't help but worry. Thankfully, Willie returned to the stage shortly after, showing his trademark resilience. But the dramatic phrasing of the announcement panicked many. "You cannot just start a tweet with, 'We regret to inform you that Willie Nelson,'" one fan wrote. This wasn't the first time Willie's health caused a stir. In 2019, he canceled a tour due to a breathing problem that forced him to quit smoking. Reflecting on those days, Willie said, "I started smoking cedar bark, went from that to cigarettes to whatever. And that almost killed me." Despite his lung struggles, Willie's team has worked hard to keep him comfortable, ensuring he has teas, his favorite CBD gummies, and constant support during performances. Willie Nelson has spent decades battling health issues, but his determination and discipline have kept him going. A lifelong practitioner of martial arts, Willie holds a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo and a fifth-degree black belt in Gongquan Yusul. These practices, combined with his daily workout routine, have helped him maintain his strength and stamina even into his 90s. Willie once joked, "I still try to do a little workout every day just to pay for the day." His support team has also played a crucial role in his continued touring. They ensure his safety, walking him to and from the stage to avoid any mishaps. As one insider revealed, one fall for someone his age could be disastrous. Despite his body showing signs of age, Willie's spirit remains unbreakable. "You've got to admire Willie," the insider added. "His body may be breaking down, but he's got the spirit of an eagle." For Willie, the stage isn't just a job, it's his lifeblood. No matter how difficult it gets, he always finds a way to return to what he loves most, sharing his music with the world. Willie Nelson in 2024. In a recent interview with the Associated Press, Willie shared how he's feeling after the health scare. "Well, I'm 91 plus, so, I'm not worried about it," he said with a calm confidence. He added, "I don't feel bad. I don't hurt anywhere. I don't have any reason to worry about dying, but I don't know anybody who's lived forever." Willie's candid words reassured fans that he's still in good spirits, even joking about his mental state. "Physically, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. Mentally? That's another story," he quipped, showing his signature humor. Despite his health issues, Willie isn't ready to slow down. On November 1st, he released his latest album, Last Leaf on the Tree, marking his 153rd record. When asked about what's next, he smiled and said, "I hope there's a few more." Although his tour schedule is currently empty, his official website teases fans with a hopeful message: check back often. Willie is always on the road again. For Willie, music remains his lifeline, and his dedication to performing and creating is as strong as ever. Even at 91, he proves time and again that nothing keeps him away from the music he loves, or from his devoted fans. What are your thoughts on Willie Nelson's remarkable life, and how he has overcome so many challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating stories.